Okay, if I ask you to close your eyes right now and think of the most iconic moments in US soccer history, what would you see? Landon Donovan celebrating that 93rd minute winner in 2010. Maybe Brandy Chastain scoring a penalty in 99. Or what about David Beckham arriving in LA? Or perhaps Lionel Messi rocking that pink and shaking the whole city of Miami? This is Essentially Sports, and in this video, we're going to be diving into the key moments that shaped football in the United States and why, with the Club World Cup in the bank and the FIFA World Cup just a year away, US soccer could be in for its biggest test yet. In 1994, the USA hosted the FIFA World Cup for the very first time, and the impact was seismic. We might have had that disaster from Diana Ross with a penalty miss to open the tournament, but the success of that competition was massive. It shattered attendance records with 3.6 million fans. It became the most financially successful World Cup in history. It was such a crucial time. It showed the world that the US was fully capable of hosting a massive football spectacle, and crucially, it paved the way for MLS. This was a deal as part of the legacy of the tournament. FIFA wanted the United States to have a full-on permanent domestic league, and 2 years later, MLS was born. Now, MLS had some great history between 1996 and 2007. It was certainly surviving, but was it flourishing? Perhaps not. It needed a spark, something special. Something to take it to the next level. Enter David Beckham. It needed David Beckham.
In a race to get back, Beckham is going to try it over the halfway line, and he's going to hit an empty net.
Now, I know that I can be susceptible to a touch of hyperbole at times, but let me tell you, David Beckham's move to LA Galaxy in 2007 was an absolute game changer. Now remember, Beckham, one of the biggest names in the sport, one of the most recognizable faces on the planet at the time. He still had plenty left in the tank. He was one of the Galacticos at Real Madrid. He could have pretty much gone anywhere in the world. And remember, he did end up going to the likes of AC Milan and PSG later in his career, but he chose the MLS, he chose LA Galaxy. This was significant for so many reasons, but one of them was that it created the designated player rule, also known as the Beckham rule, which means a team can sign one player above the designated salary cap, a Beckham, or later a Lionel Messi. As you can imagine, the impact of Beckham joining MLS and Galaxy was huge. Herbalife signed a deal with Galaxy worth $20 million, an amount that previously would have been totally unheard of for an MLS team. 11,000 new season tickets were sold. Every luxury box at Galaxy Stadium was sold out. Over 250,000 Beckham jerseys were sold. This was all before he even set foot on the training pitch. It really took things to a new level. Behind the move was Commissioner Don Garber, who pitched this as not just a move, not just a contract, but a mission to change the face of the domestic game in the United States forever. Now, in this regard, you have to credit both Garber and Beckham because it did take things to a whole new level. Hardly any football fans had even heard of LA Galaxy until David Beckham put them on the map. There was so much interest in MLS and what Beckham was doing. It was unheard of for a player of that status ever to move to MLS. The man was a pioneer and he busted down the door. Now, that legacy still lives on today, as Beckham is, of course, an owner at Inter Miami. And what did he do as Inter Miami? He signed a guy called Lionel Messi. Now, with the arrival of the greatest footballer of all time, Lionel Messi, things got pretty wild in MLS.
First 25 minutes.
Crowds surged, revenues flew as well, and the MLS became the second most attended league on the planet, behind only the Premier League. That is a wild stat. League revenue jumped by 18%. Remember, this is just one dude we're talking about. But of course, with that, you saw skyrocketing ticket prices. In some instances, they rose by 124%, which of course can alienate your average fan. And it did come with some issues. Messi mania meant that so many fans were queuing up just to see this one guy. There wasn't that natural organic growth in the league. It was very much interest in an individual, and it came with its issues. For example, Houston had to apologize to its fans and offer refunds because Messi didn't show up to play. Fans, of course, felt cheated. Now, as Messi brought the magic, this raised a significant question. Is MLS building something sustainable, or is it creating a wave that it is not equipped to ride? Bear in mind, the salary cap is less than $6 million for each team. Yes, you've got the Beckham rule. Yes, you can bring yourself a star. But can you really compete with the big boys if that's what you're trying to do? Which brings us, of course, to the Club World Cup. Now, the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup represents a significant milestone for the competition. More teams, a whole lot more prize money. I mean, Auckland got over $4 million, which is astronomical for a club of their size. There was over $1 billion in shared prize money in the competition. Yes, the competition has had critics. I mean, the temperatures were sizzling for the players. The players are playing too much football, and in some cases, the stadiums were half empty. But the competition has brought some massive moments. I mean, look at the joy on the faces of the likes of Al Hilal and Fluminense when they got those shock results against the big boys. So this is a landmark time for the Club World Cup, and inevitably it's only going to get bigger and more significant in the global football landscape. But it was also supposed to be a bit of a coming out party for the MLS. Of course, with the US being the hosts, eyes were on what the MLS clubs could produce. Don Garber called it a historic day, but if you looked at the results on the pitch, it was a bit of a disaster. Seattle Sounders, 0 wins. LAFC, 0 wins. And Inter Miami, the only MLS side to reach the knockouts, got an absolute schooling by PSG. The gulf in quality between the big boys and the MLS sides was there for all to see. The combined MLS record, 1 win, 3 draws, 6 losses. Now, while you can celebrate the parity that exists in the MLS, we often see different champions season on season. Is the salary cap creating a ceiling? We touched on it before, but ultimately, if the MLS is going to compete with the biggest teams in the world, surely they need to have a look at the systems in place. You cannot expect some of these sides in the MLS to compete with the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and PSG with the kind of resources that they're up against. It's just not going to happen. So, with the spotlight of the Club World Cup, we have been given a stark reminder. We have just a year left until the United States hosts the biggest football party of all time, the FIFA World Cup 2026. Yes, they're going to be sharing it with Canada and Mexico, but this will be the biggest edition of the World Cup's history. The pressure is on. All eyes are watching. The final will be played at the MetLife Stadium. We saw 1.5 billion tune in to the final in 2022. That number is expected to be even bigger in 2026. Now, if 1994 was an opportunity for the US to prove that it is indeed a football nation, something they did with flying colors, this is an opportunity to show that they do belong, that they still belong, that they are relevant in 2026 in terms of the big football conversation. This was supposed to be a golden generation, remember. Look at the players, the likes of Christian Pulisic, Adams, Weir, Dest. This was meant to be a golden generation, remember, with players playing in some of the biggest leagues in Europe with some of the biggest clubs. Pulisic, Adams, Reina, McKennie, Dest, Weir. The names are there, but the team hasn't delivered. They've got their big name manager and Maurizio Pochettino as well, who again has managed at some of the biggest clubs in the world, but so far they failed to do the business, and you might say that confidence in the team is at an all-time low. They failed to get out of their group in the Copa America, and time is ticking for them to get it together ahead of the big show. We've seen pundits, the likes of Tony Meola, Charlie Davis, and Jimmy Conrad all raise massive doubts over the squad. From goalkeeper, defenders, midfielders, and strikers, there's question marks everywhere as to whether or not this team can gel and deliver on the biggest stage. So, while the Club World Cup didn't go to plan for the domestic teams, the domestic league will again come under scrutiny when the FIFA World Cup comes around, and of course the national team will be under immense pressure to win the respect of the adoring public. Remember, this is one of the most fervent sporting nations on planet Earth. Football fever is going to grip America in 12 months' time. The national team has to make a good account of themselves, and as a host nation, everything must go swimmingly. The pressure is on. The logistics of managing a World Cup on this level between Mexico, Canada, and the US, just the distances involved, the temperatures involved, the amount of teams involved, it's going to be one hell of an undertaking. The question is, from what you've seen at the Club World Cup, from what you've seen from the national team in recent matches, and from what you've seen in history, what is going to go down at the FIFA World Cup in 2026? And what is your favorite, most iconic moment in US soccer history? This is Essentially Sports. Thanks for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you at the next one.